We all want to raise kids who are resilient, who are responsible. But what if the things we're doing with the absolute best intentions are actually holding them back? Today, we're going to break down brain expert Dr. Daniel Amen's framework for parenting. It's basically a scientific guide to helping our kids not just survive, but really thrive in a pretty tough world.
So let's just start with a really tough question, but one we've got to ask ourselves. In our push to protect our kids from, every little bump and bruise, every failure, every disappointment, are we accidentally stopping them from developing the one thing they need most? And that's mental strength.
And this quote from Dr. Amen, it just gets right to the heart of it. It's this super counterintuitive idea, but it's so important. The goal isn't to create some perfect, problem-free life for our kids. It's actually the opposite. It's to let them face challenges, to let them make their own mistakes, and this is the key, learn from them. That's where the real growth happens.
Okay, so let's dig into this first big idea. Let your children fail. It just feels wrong, doesn't it? I mean, our instinct is to rush in, to fix everything, to be the hero for them. But what the science is showing us is that this very instinct can totally backfire and actually make our kids weaker in the long run.
And here is the paradox. We think we're giving our kids a confidence boost by solving their problems, but we're actually stealing it from them. See, Dr. Amen says that we're the ones who get the little hit of self-esteem from fixing things, but when we do that, we rob our kids of the chance to build their own.
So, okay, how do we actually do this? Well, the first pillar is all about building their sense of agency. Now, this isn't something you can just give to a child. It's something they have to earn. Agency is that deep down feeling of being in control of your own life, and it's built through responsibility. I mean, think about it. Where does self-esteem really come from? We're always praising our kids, right? You're so smart, you're so special. But is that what actually works? Well, the science points to something completely different, something way more tangible, and it comes from one of the longest studies on human development ever done. 70 years. That is how long a groundbreaking Harvard study followed 454 kids from inner-city Boston. They tracked everything you can imagine, their health, their happiness, their success. They really wanted to figure out what makes for a good life. And here's what they found. Get this. It wasn't about how much praise they got or what kind of advantages they had. The single biggest predictor of self-esteem in adulthood was whether or not they had responsibilities as a kid, a paper route, chores around the house, helping with a family business. Responsibility literally builds self-worth. And that is why agency is the engine of self-esteem. It's the belief that says, hey, I can handle this. And that belief isn't built by telling a kid they're great. It's built brick by brick every single time a child takes on a task and sees it through all by themselves. Okay, so we give them responsibility, but how do we guide them without it turning into a constant battle? Well, that leads us straight to the second pillar, connection. The simple truth is, you can't correct if you don't first connect. I mean, just think about it in your own life. When you feel disconnected from someone, how likely are you to take their advice? Not very, right? It's the exact same thing with our kids. Dr. Amen tells a story about how his dad tried to tell him how to vote when he was 18, but because they didn't have a real relationship, he just did the opposite out of spite. Influence flows directly from connection. It's that simple. So how in the world do we build this connection in our crazy, busy lives? Dr. Amen has this incredibly simple but powerful technique he calls special time. It's just 20 minutes a day. The child gets to pick what you do. And this is the really hard part, no commands, no questions, no directions. You just show up and you're just there with them. And does it work? Oh, you bet it does. Dr. Amen tells this fantastic story about his literary agent, whose little 2-year-old daughter wanted nothing to do with him. He was so frustrated. After just 3 weeks of doing special time, the dad called back, just blown away. He said now, as soon as he walks in the door, she grabs his leg and wants her time with him. That is the power of just being present. But hang on, being present and connected, that doesn't mean you're a pushover, right? That you just let them do whatever they want? Absolutely not. And that brings us to our third pillar, loving firm limits. This completely reframes discipline. It's not punishment. It's an act of love that teaches kids how the real world actually works. So let's look at the story of Dr. Amen's adopted daughter, Chloe. For them, homework was a 2-hour battle every single night. Finally, his wife, Tana, just had this moment of clarity. She sat Chloe down and calmly said, "Honey, I've already done 2nd grade. This is your work, not mine." She laid out the natural consequences so clearly.
You can do your homework, or you can go to school and explain to your teacher why you didn't. The responsibility was just transferred completely from the parent to the child. And just like that, the fight was over because there was no one to fight with anymore. And the result? Well, Chloe stormed off to her room, did her homework, and her mom literally never had to ask her about it again. She grew up to be a responsible, independent university student because she learned right then and there that her choices have consequences. She developed agency.
So, what's the brain science behind why this is so important? It's actually really simple. A child's frontal lobes, that's the part of the brain that's like the CEO. It handles planning, judgment, impulse control. Well, they aren't fully developed until their mid-20s. So until then, parents have to be their frontal lobes. We provide that external structure that they just can't provide for themselves yet. And if you're not convinced, look at the data. A huge study at the University of Oregon looked at 4 parenting styles. The worst, no surprise, was hostile and permissive. But this is the shocker. The second worst style, loving and permissive. That's right. Being the cool parent with no boundaries can be almost as damaging. The kids who turned out the healthiest consistently came from homes that were both loving and firm. Okay, so we've covered agency, connection, and limits. That's kind of the external structure. But the final pillar, this takes us inside the child's mind. We have to actually teach them how to manage their own thoughts. Dr. Amen has this great acronym for this, ANTs. It stands for automatic negative thoughts. You know what these are. They're those annoying, critical thoughts that just pop into our heads and tell us we're not good enough or that we're going to fail. Now here's the difference. Mentally weak kids just believe them. Mentally strong kids learn this incredibly powerful skill. They learn to question them. And the language we use plays a massive role here. On the left, you see the kinds of things we often say, with good intentions. "You're so smart" actually creates a fear of not looking smart. "I'll take care of it" steals their agency. But look at the right. That's language that builds strength. It praises effort, not just ability. It encourages problem solving. It validates feelings instead of just dismissing them. And this right here, this is the ultimate mindset shift. It's a mantra Dr. Amen got from an Olympic athlete he was working with. It totally reframes the whole idea of failure. There is no losing. There's only winning or learning. Both of them are progress. Can you imagine giving your child that powerful perspective? At the end of the day, raising mentally strong kids isn't about creating some perfect, sanitized environment. It's about letting them navigate a messy, imperfect world, but with your loving and firm support right there with them. So I'll leave you with this question. What's one small, affordable mistake you can let your child make and learn from this week?